everybody, it's gonna be an all e.l.f. video. It's been a little while since I've done some pure e.l.f. content on this channel, but I've never really focused on the brand's best sellers. Just on their website, that's always where you can count on the newest stuff to come in. Just their full entire range is gonna be found there. And I was just browsing their website recently and I noticed that they have best sellers very prominently displayed, and you can then filter that down by type of product. But I was just scrolling through best sellers all around and going top to bottom, writing them down, and kind of taking the first things listed for different aspects of the face and then seeing what that amounts to as a full face of bestsellers. So for example, there may have been a couple of different blushes listed on that page, but I took the first one that came, taking that as the one that's been the bestest bestseller. So interestingly enough, my first couple of products that I put on my face are actually the first two that were on the list in terms of bestsellers. They're just flipped. We got the Camo CC cream, that was the #1 bestseller currently, and then the Poreless Putty Primer, the original one. So I'll apply those in flipped order, but those are the top 2 bestsellers. So Poreless Putty, you guys have heard me talk about this one quite a bit in comparison to some of the other putty primer options that are out there. I feel like this is like the firmest one, you know, put it on the skin, it takes a little bit of breaking down, a little bit of pull across the skin, and I continue to stand by the fact that I really like the hard candy version of this type of product. I feel like it's most like Tatcha's. It carries a little more moisture, there's a little more slip across the skin, but yet I do see that impact on pores still with it. Anyway, I'm getting this worked in. I tried to like kind of warm it up, sort of run the fingers around the product a little bit, but I'm kind of like doing a pressing motion now right around my biggest pore area, which would be sides of the nose. This little part of the cheek right here, you can kind of see some pores. But texture and application aside, once this all gets in, it does seem to have kind of an impact on the way the pores look with the makeup on. Now, if you keep up with my videos on a regular basis, you have already seen me use this and talk about this and really in depth compare this to the It Cosmetics CC cream. And my overall takeaway, by the way, I'm in the shade Light 210N in the Camo CC cream. It does have SPF 30. It says color correcting, full coverage, natural finish. And I feel like it's really comparable coverage wise to the It Cosmetics. A big difference that I noticed though is I felt the It Cosmetics carried more moisture. That's one where, depending on skin type, you could pop it on and that would be the moisture and the coverage and all that. And this has a little bit more of a traditional, I guess, foundation-y feel in that it's not super duper moisturizing on me. That might be what some people want. I'm gonna use the e.l.f., I think it's called is this the Total Face Sponge? It's got that angle on it. It really puffs up quite a bit when you get it wet, and I like it. I think it's one of the things that's most like the actual Beauty Blender because of the texture on the outside of the sponge. It's got like a little more porous. But I'm not sure that I've ever actually used it to apply this CC cream. But as you can see, coverage is really nice. And if you are really well moisturized underneath, you know, you're gonna probably be pretty pleased with the product. This tone is on point for my skin tone. Again, with the pores looking up close at the nose, I feel like, okay, things are looking pretty smooth there. It's an overall matte feeling finish, but when I turn my head, you can see a little bit of a glow, you know, just overall on the surface of the skin, but I don't feel like shiny. Does that make any sense? Maybe more of a natural finish is what I should say. And that's what the product says about itself, natural finish. I think I turn out even more of a natural finish with this though, blending it in with the sponge. Maybe it comes off a bit more matte when I just buff it in with a brush, but this is really good. And like I know I said in a past video, e.l.f. has not put out a wide range of different coverage products for a while. Like once this came along, it was the first new foundation-y kind of thing that we'd seen from the brand in a while. They had their like flawless finish foundation and like the squared off jar, and that's kind of been it for a while. And I really do like this stuff. I need to use it more. Next up, very high on the list, was the Hydrating Camo Concealer. You guys know how I feel about this. This is the light peach shade. It'll be nice to use this on this day because I've spent the last 4 or 5 days wearing the new creamy Tarte Shape Tape, so this will be a nice little fresh comparison to get. I'm trying to apply about the same amount as I've been doing of the Tarte. So yeah, in case you didn't know, they have an extra creamy, ultra creamy version. Every time I say extra creamy, I think of peanut butter. But I'm gonna bounce this in. This shade is a little more on the brightening side than the color I have the Tarte in. It's just so hard to argue with this when you consider the price as well. It's just so good. Now this sponge is a little big. It's a little hard to ultimately get in there, so I will come by with a brush and work that. But regular Camo concealer is good too, don't get me wrong. If you just have a tendency of having a dry looking under eye, especially as the day rolls on, a lot of things can look great as soon as you blend them in the morning. But if you're kind of concerned about the way something wears, you might go for something that has a little more moisture, like the Hydrating. I'm just going to use my little Pro Concealer brush from Sephora, the 57, and just use that to reach my little cavern. Bye-bye discoloration. See you later. Until tomorrow. Got a little extra there, so I'm sort of pulling it across the eyelid. Allison, did you see that? I know she's always wanting me to take care of my eyelids. I just don't like to put a lot of product there because I think it adds to the chance of creasing. But there's very little, and I do look nice and brightened. It works. Well, I've got this in my hand. I'm just kind of working around the nose area too. Any other small spots where sometimes too much product collects. I do really love that combo. I mean, look how brightened up I am. Did I say that I'm the light peach shade in this? That's one thing. If you go between regular Camo concealer and the Hydrating, it's not necessarily the same shade. So really look closely at the colors as you're making your new shade selection if you're trying this one for the first time. But my gosh, it's really hard to argue with how the skin looks right now. The next thing, powder-wise, that I would use, now I don't have the Halo Glow setting powder. I'm gonna be honest with you, I had it and I decluttered it like a long time ago. I really just didn't think it was that fantastic. Now I'm kind of regretting it a little bit because I know some people really like this stuff and it is pretty high up on the bestsellers list, but I don't know, it just didn't really stand out to me in a big way, and I've got a lot of different powders and I just wasn't like, oh, this is great. What I am gonna use is my contour palette. Okay guys, we got some trouble. My beloved contour palette, like this is not even an on the fence type product, this is a full-on love. I cannot find it. I looked throughout my drawer where contours, bronzers, and everything like that should be. I found a couple other e.l.f. things, but I did not find that. I have no idea where it could be. It's not out here on the top of my table anywhere. I'm dumbfounded on the whereabouts of that. So we're gonna go to a couple of other things that do happen to be on the bestsellers list. The cream contour palette we have, and I have this Perfect Finish HD powder. So right now that we're all in kind of cream mode on the skin, I'm gonna go ahead and use this. I don't remember how high this was on the actual list of bestsellers, but I do remember seeing it somewhere on there. And I'm gonna go to this kind of cool lighter shade. And this is my Sephora Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush. I'm kind of reserving the bigger one, that full size that I have of this brush. I'm leaving that more for foundation-y stuff. And this is the blush and other cream products type of brush. And I like this cream contour palette just fine, but the powder one just had a nice thing in there that I could use to sort of set with or highlight with. Of course, it had the contour slash bronzer type shades. I had no doubt that I had that and was going to use it, and I just could not lay my hands on it. I just went through fairly recently and decluttered that whole area and kind of reorganized that drawer. I know exactly where it should have been. Okay, so as you can see, I'm using some of these shades here. I kind of bounce between these and use them to warm up the skin a bit. Some of you are probably like, yeah, good, use more creams. So this isn't all bad. Well, you know what they say, it's okay to make plans, just don't become glued to those plans. Life advice. All right, so now I have this Perfect Finish HD powder, and I do like this stuff. I remembered getting it because somebody said they'd liked it so much they hit pan on it. Somebody I follow on Instagram, and I was like, well, okay, let's go for it ourselves. So I'm gonna take actually my sponge here, pick some of that up. I know, getting crazy. And see if I can just like dab this over the under eye. Now this is the dampened sponge. David had said in our little video with all his tips, use a dry sponge. Maybe I have, let's do the reverse. I got a dry beauty blender right here. Yeah, that's kind of where the impact is made as far as really laying down the product. So I'm kind of using this in the same way I used that lightest shade in the Smashbox trio. It's a little bit of baking, honestly, and my skin doesn't seem to mind it. I am going to work over it a bit with my small tapered brush and kind of blend. Where is this look going? I don't know. But yeah, that's the only area I'm gonna set. Kind of T-zone a little bit, and then the under eye. I don't think I love this powder as much that way with the Beauty Blender, dry Beauty Blender application. Don't enjoy it quite as much as I do the Smashbox powders. Next up for blush, the highest one on the bestseller list was the Putty blush. And it looked like they were pointing out specific shades because you might also find the Putty blush further down the list with a different shade highlighted. So I think there's something to this. They said the shade Bahamas, and for whatever reason they're not putting the shade name on the outside of the Putty blushes, but I have that one and I haven't even used it yet. This came in PR, and I'm going to use it with the Putty primer brush here. Just any nice dense synthetic brush. I'm going to go straight into this stuff and pop that on the cheeks. By the way, you guys, are you noticing how there's so many new blushes coming out these days? Like all that time I feel like there'd been new releases and I kind of thought to myself it'd be nice to see more blushes. Now we're seeing a lot of new blush products, so you can probably expect a new blushes video from me coming soon because I'm trying a lot of them. Look at this. This is a really fresh, pretty shade. I didn't even really think about this when I thought, oh, is it just gonna be really light and orangey? No, it's pretty coral. I like some blush, so we're not exactly going light with this. That's pretty. This is a really easy product to apply with a brush like that, but texture-wise, if you just touch it, it kind of has a little cream to powder feel, you know, like it's able to be blended fairly easily and doesn't maintain a lot of tackiness. So that contour palette was really gonna handle a lot of steps for us in one, but since we don't have that, we're branching out in some different directions. Another thing that was most definitely on the bestseller list and probably higher up than the contour palette was this jelly highlighter in the shade Bubbly. And I was just talking about this not too long ago, how I love my little baby stippling brush for Real Techniques. This is called the Filtered Cheek Brush. It's really good for these creamy highlighters, and I like dipping it straight down into this one. And then you dab it on and you get that perfect little amount. And then you just, whoops, or maybe a lot. No, it's fine. And you just buff it right in. Like so, and perfect blend without messing up your underneath coverage. I love that. This can be very shiny. So stipple and then buff. If you have the e.l.f. small stipple brush, you know, that would be good for this too. I just found it fascinating how small this stipple brush turned out to be. And it's really nice for targeting this top of the cheek area, you know. Do-do-do-do-do. If there's anything left on the brush, I'll let it come up here. To touch this is just like wiggly jelly though. Can you see that? Jiggle wiggle. It is a cool product. And if you're looking to experiment without like spending a lot of money, that might be a fun one to test out. Oh, and the coconut mist. Hydrating coconut mist. As you can see, this has been a loved product from me. I have compared this to the Too Faced Hangover Mist, but I feel this is better. I think it has a better sprayer, a better, more pure coconutty scent. And I've used it a lot. Oh, it's so good. So good. And then any powderiness on the skin just kind of goes bye-bye and you look so radiant and nice. Super good setting spray. I love that stuff. And now for eyebrows, something very high on the list was the Instant Lift Brow Pencil. So this is your $2, just crazy affordable pencil. I wear it in neutral brown. And what you're gonna notice about this, it has the spoolie on the one end, and then this is not incredibly fine, like not as fine as Brow Wiz or NYX Micro Brow. It's not the teeny tiny type of brow pencil, but like for me, it still works fine and it fills in a little faster even. Texture is really nice. It's not like super soft and goopy, very easy to apply. Just a great standard brow pencil. It's one of those things where it's hard to justify. When you use this and you see how well it works, it becomes very hard to say, okay, now you need to spend 18 or 20 bucks for a certain brow tool because this does it so well. I feel like I got a ton of flyaways up here. I guess the issue for some people might be, does it have your right shade? Because some hair colors can be harder to find that really perfect match. And also, I would keep in mind those who don't have hardly any brow hair, you might want something a little more fine to create those hair-like strokes. And e.l.f. does have a finer pencil as well, a really precise skinny one. But this is really your most affordable option, and I've talked about it for a long time. I think it works just great. And then also high up on the bestseller list was just their cheap little brow gel with the duo, the two ends. And I had that and used it up recently. So I'm just going to use the Wow Brow over my brows, which I believe was also on there somewhere. But I was surprised at how high that gel was. I don't feel like a lot of people mention it. So the Wow Brow reminds me a lot of what Glossier Boy Brow does for my brows, only it has some more little fibers in it, this one does. It has the hold, and then it maybe is even more capable of adding a little more thickness because it's depositing those little fibers in the brow. It's a terrific product. I kind of feel like it's most like the effect I get from Boy Brow, and I can wear it on its own with nothing else. Now, my friends, we're taking a little e.l.f. break to say that this is finally done. What day was it? I want to say I shot that video last Thursday. It was the one with David's stuff. And then I used this again on Friday. That was when I got my last bit out of it as I was just doing my makeup, just regular day. And then on Saturday I went to use it again and I absolutely could not get another bit out. So we're gonna have to memorialize this somewhere. Welcome in our new friend, a fresh tube. It was weeks that we talked about that thing being on its last legs, so that's why it's significant if you're new here. It really is fun to use things up and get your full worth out of them. Although to me, Milani eyeshadow primer is worth much more than the $6 or $7 you spend on it. Can I just get like an eye primer collab up in here? Design a special like limited edition flashy tube. So for the eyes, the top eyeshadow thing that was listed, and it was very high on the list, it was the Bite Size eyeshadow, and the certain shade that was specified was Cream and Sugar. So I have that one here. And then further on down the list, it was the I think it's called Rose Water, the kind of rosy toned one. So I'm gonna use this for my look today. Obviously it's gonna be a pretty basic look. It's interesting to me that this palette doesn't really have like the matte transition-y crease shade. Like if this were a little bit deeper, it almost would be more worth to me because here you could use this as a highlight. So to me, this palette has always felt like a little something was missing, but we're gonna make it work. I'm gonna show you how, because we're gonna pat this on the outside and then blend it in. You've seen me use this technique quite a few times here on my channel where we start with the darkest shade, we pat it on, we get it worked into the crease, and then we just start blending it, and it can become everything we need it to be, really. So nice, rich, matte brown. These are great quality little shadows. I'm not trying to take anything away from that. I'm just saying when it's a 4-pack, that needs to be a pretty thoughtfully, well thought out grouping of shades where everything has a distinct function. Here's what I'm doing. I'm just patting that on. I'm not worried about whether it's blending yet. Oh my gosh, I need to get my bracket printed out. Shooting this on Tuesday. I love some March Madness. There we go. So we're getting it in that outside part. Then take your crease brush, nothing else added to it, and you're just gonna blend that shade out side to side, as they sometimes say, windshield wiper motions in the crease. And you're gonna try to get that shade kind of diffused there. And as it softens up, it almost feels like an additional softer crease shade was put there. Kind of a nice little trick if you don't have a lot of different colors to work with, or maybe not the exact colors you hoped you had. And this is a very dark shade. I feel like it's kind of wanting to just lock in there and stay a little bit, but I'm getting it. We're getting her blended, whether she wants to or not. Okay, very nice. And take this sort of peachy, beigey matte. We will make use of that sort of for going over the outer edge and softening this a little. Nice and easy. And then I'm going to take this kind of soft bronzy shade, grabbing my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush. There's a hidden gem of the line. Great for packing stuff on. Yeah, this has a real goldeny look as I pat it on the lid. And this is going to go over my whole inner part of the lid. Look at that metallic goodness right there. Very smooth, very rich. And then I think I'm going to do that lightest shimmer around my inner corner. The idea is this is a basic everyday eye look, and I get it. I like it. I want quads to have a comeback, you know? I think they're very user-friendly. I'm just gonna use the same brush. It kind of comes to a little point, which makes it very easy to do stuff like this. That champagne-y shade, just boom, inner corner. Then I want to get even a little more precise with the outer corner action here. I'm going to take my Profusion, this is the small pointed eyeshadow brush, And we're just gonna take that with our deepest brown. And we did so much buffing, so much blending. Now you can kind of use this to really get that shadow just how you want it. For me, I'm not like changing up the shape of the look a whole lot. I'm just pinpointing some of that shade right in the deepest part of my outer crease. And I think I'll also use that while I have it in my hand to gently go down to my lower lash line too. I feel like today, since it's early, as it pretty much always is when I shoot these videos, I could use a little added wake up, so I'm taking my ABH double-ended highlighter pencil and just hitting that lower lash line with some of that. Boom, boom, boom. Nice. And while there was a liquid liner pen fairly high on the bestsellers list, I don't actually have it. We're gonna move straight on to mascara with the Lash It Loud Volumizing Mascara, which was pretty high on the list. At the time I looked at the list, it was about the 6th or 7th product mentioned. Now I've used this before. It's got this rubber bristle brush. I'm gonna need to refresh my memory on how good it worked. And sometimes when products get that little bit of age on them, especially mascaras, that's when I like it better. So right now we're getting that just definition, nice and defined. I like a big lash, folks. Bigger the better. My lashes need a lot of help. I realize that. I need the mascaras that just zhunk. Don't like to spend a lot of time just raking the wand through, hoping for the best, because eventually the lashes just start sticking together. We're coming back over here to add some more. By the way, guys, I've got a dupes video coming. I've been noticing a few dupes within my collection. I thought, let's point those out, but you know, I kind of wanted to have some more to share as well, so I'm looking around and I'm just realizing when you're really picky, dupes are very hard to find. Like, I'm not easily pleased by a lot of dupes. Or, you know, there are things that seem close, but I never want to be one of those people that gets on and gives dupes and then people are like, yeah, it was kind of in the ballpark, but it wasn't really close. Like, I want it to be exact. I want to swatch those things on my hand and then look away for a few minutes and then get confused as to which one was which. They're so close. You know, I want no identifiable difference between them. So you will drive yourself a little bit crazy when you have that mentality trying to find your dupes. But it pays off in the end because everybody's happy with a good dupe. All right, so I got this on for a very, very average looking lash for me. Sorry, but I've tried a lot of things that can do better. It's just okay. It built a little bit, but once I started to see the lashes trying to team up and not look quite so separated and lovely, sorry, I got some crazy brown hairs, that's my sign that I need to stop. And I'm putting a little bit of Thrive liquid lash extensions down here because I know it won't smudge. The first lip color to come up on the list of best-selling products was this Hydrating Core Lip Shine, and it was in the shade Joyful. That was the one listed. So these have that cute little heart in the center, but your color is really coming from whatever the color on the outside is, because that heart is basically just like clear. It's adding, I guess, a little hydration, but these smell so good. Oh my God, like a cucumber melon type vibe. So this is that shade Joyful. We're getting a soft pinky look. When I first started putting this on, I thought, I'm not so sure, but I actually kind of like it with this whole look. I'm feeling a little bit lighter and more springy. The mascara is taking its sweet time to dry. You know, something that didn't quite get enough love on the bestsellers list, in my opinion? I'm just taking a little bit more of this powder over some areas. I didn't see enough brushes coming up there, like the small tapered brush or the blush brush, the complexion brush. You know how I love those. Would have liked to seen the brushes be a little more prominent on that list, but that's okay. It's just, I guess it's our little secret. Does anybody else think I need more blush? Probably. I don't know how that mascara was so high on the bestsellers list. Like, are people really raving about it? This Putty blush, this particular shade called Bahamas, I totally love it. I think the coverage products 100% belonged there, like the Camo CC cream and the Hydrating concealer, absolutely great products. Putty blush is nice, the jelly highlight is nice. These little quads, it doesn't surprise me for a moment that this is the best-selling shade. That's the most neutral, but not necessarily the easiest thing, you know, because like I said, we don't have some kind of an easy crease color here. You really have to work with your darkest brown. down, and that can make it a little more fussy, but the overall look is cute, right? These Hydrating Core Lip Shines are very hydrating, a really nice comfy product, not gonna exactly be mask friendly. In fact, if you're looking for something from e.l.f.'s line that is very, very nice to wear in terms of a comfortable long wear product that sets, try their Sheer Matte Liquid Lipstick. They're kind of unique. They're very, very thin and lightweight, but they do dry down and they wear really well because they are so thin. They don't feel like that separate layer on the lips. They're almost like a cross between a stain and a liquid lipstick. So while this provides some really comfortable moisture, if you want staying power, go to that other thing. The things that were on the bestsellers that I used that didn't make as much sense to me, I was really surprised by the mascara being up there so high. That Halo Glow powder that I didn't even have, I wasn't that impressed with that, but that's really up there on bestsellers. Their liquid glitter eyeshadow I was never a fan of, and that was way up there as well. That was also like an award winner from Allure, I think. So yeah, there are a few things that don't make perfect sense to me here, but you guys know e.l.f. is one of my favorite brands. I think they're doing so many things right. If you want to check out some of my favorites from the line, I'll link below to some of my most recent videos I've done on e.l.f., but I also did feature them in my favorite drugstore brands and the things they do best. If you want some of my highlights of the brand, check there. But thank you so much for your time today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Dupes coming soon, and I will see you next time. Love you. Bye.